I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 6:33. Welcome to our April 22nd Board of Selectmen Town Moderator meeting. Today's meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. For this meeting, the Board of Selectmen is convening by Zoom as posted on the town's website. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. As a preliminary matter, I'm going to confirm that all members of the board are present and can hear me. I am Bob Springer, chair of the committee. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. John Jeffries.
John Jeffries, present.
Robin Hunter.
I was on mute, present.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Kate O'Brien.
Present.
Alicia Hoffman.
Present.
Mona DeStilio.
Present.
Chris Dwelling.
I'm here.
Anticipated speakers on the agenda may be many, but I'm going to ask them if they speak to introduce themselves, and when it's that time. So this is the town moderators meeting. I'm going to first ask for citizen comments. Are there any citizen comments? Yes,
Bob, I only have an announcement that I'd like to make to take advantage of the fact that this is being televised. The Board of Health wants to call attention to this Saturday. There is a DEP promoted national Take Back the Medication Day to help reduce the misuse and abuse of prescription drugs and non-prescription medications, whether human or veterinary. And we're asking everyone to be mindful that they can dispose of all unnecessary, unused, or outdated medications at the receptacle at the Dover Police Department at 3 Walpole Street. The special day is this Saturday, but in fact, the receptacle is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is open to the public.
Thank you, Jerry. I actually thought that notice was quite well done. So hopefully people have seen it and take advantage of that opportunity. Moving on, item 1.1, moderators meeting. Mr. Rapetti, I hand you the gavel.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for everybody who's been able to attend today. Just as some background, I would wonder if it would be okay if Felicia gave us a brief report on the organization for town meeting, what she's been able to do so far, and what the protocol is going to be. So Felicia, if you don't mind, could you just bring us up to speed?
Yeah, I can. So very much like we did last year, except hopefully a larger audience, we have set up the field at the Norris Airfield. We will have chairs for around 400 people. We will have 2 mics at the front closest to the podium for yes and no so people can ask questions. We will have tables as we normally do for the Board of Selectmen, Nina, myself, Chris. The warrant committee, which is on Jim's left, I want to thank Gordon and Rob for graciously agreeing to be the 2 up there. The remainder of the warrant committee will have front row seats, specially reserved for you all. We've talked to the sound system, the clicker people, the field people, the custodians, the police department. We're in great shape. I think we're lined up as best we can be lined up, and everybody has been super cooperative with us all. So hopefully we're going to have a really good meeting. We have one tiny glitch, and that glitch is that this has to be a fairly quick meeting. We have a field hockey team coming on the field at 3. And it takes the sound system people 2 hours to clear us off. So Jim, you got to put your auctioneer's voice on. We got to be out by about 1:15. And that's about it from me.
Okay.
I mean, we did it in 19 minutes last time. I think a couple of hours is plenty.
Well,
All we need is a good butter storm and we're set.
we'll see. Since Gordon and Rob will be sitting up front, I would like all of the motions to be initiated by Gordon. So every motion will be made by Gordon and every motion will be seconded by Rob. If that's okay, because you'll both be up front near the microphones, or I think there will be microphones at their table, correct, Felicia?
Yes, that's correct. They'll have one microphone. We'll have 2 or 3 on the other side.
Okay, great. So that will expedite matters. Let me start to go through the motions. I have a couple of questions when we get a little bit further in to the agenda, but let me just start to run through with the motions that we normally start with. And if there are any questions, the first motion, which is read before Article 1, is to adopt the rules for conducting the meeting. That's usually a pro forma motion. Any questions or comments about it? No? Okay, then we get to Article 1. And that's to hear and act on committee reports. Again, that's a pro forma motion. Gordon will be making a motion. Rob will be seconding. By the way, let me just state at the outset, my remarks are going to be about 2 minutes. Basically, I'm just going to talk about the process of being recognized and using the clickers. And since we've used the clickers before, it'll be 2 minutes. I do not want to have any other comments that I'll be making. If you fellas don't mind, the Board of Selectmen don't mind, I'm going to just go launch right into the meeting and not ask for comments from the Board of Selectmen or from the chair of the Warrant Committee. Is that okay with everybody? It's the same process we followed last year, and it will save us about 10 or 15 minutes up front. So after we get to Article 1, then it will be to act on the reports. That will be a quick vote, I hope. And then on to Article 2, we'll be dismissing Articles 11 and 14. This will be a consent vote. Okay. And again, Gordon and Rob will be making a motion and seconding. Since I'll be calling over Articles 11 and 14, so I'll be asking for a hold on Articles 11 and 14. And then if nobody objects, as I go through 11 and 14, then they'll be deemed to have been dismissed. Article 2 will be dealing with the, I'm sorry?
Jim, could we just pause on that for a minute? Is there a reason we have that consent not close to either Articles 11 or 14?
I don't know. I was wondering about that, Nina, but I'm not sure.
I know that there was some thought behind separating out the 2 separate groups of consent items. So I understand the thought process there, as Chris has explained it to me, but it does seem awkward to have Article 1, Motion 1, and then this consent item that doesn't affect anything until Article 11.
Yeah, I don't know. Chris, we had talked about putting them sort of near where they were going to be in the agenda. Was there some other reason that I'm probably forgetting about why we moved them up, or?
No, not at all, Jim. In years past, the motion to dismiss articles was at the front end of
Right.
the warrant. So if Nina's got a different suggestion, whatever the group wants.
I think that makes sense if we're doing one consent agenda, if we're doing one consent motion to get rid of, here's one consent agenda to get rid of 6 motions, you just do it right up front. Where this one, that is still my preference, where this one has been broken up a bit, I guess it should go closer, I think, to where the articles are. It just reading it on paper didn't stick out to me, but as soon as Jim started going over it orally, it seems funny.
Okay. Is that okay, Chris? Can we do that?
Sure thing.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Jim, you asked me to double check. So this is just simple majority?
This is simple majority, right? And let me ask a question. Whenever we're calling through something where an article is being dismissed or approved, how much detail do I have to provide for each article? Should I
Usually none, unless someone asks a question or there's a point of order. Why are we dismissing these?
Okay.
But typically you don't need to explain the article at all. You can just say, I think I've seen it both ways. We're going to dismiss articles 11 and 14 and that's it. Or we're going to dismiss article 11, which is such and such, and article 14, which is such and such. I wouldn't do more than just referencing their titles.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I was thinking maybe just the titles and the pages where they appear in the blue book.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, then we'll be Article 2, which deals with the salaries for elected officials. And I noted that once again, the moderator's at 0. And as I reminded you all when I was elected 10 years ago, you get what you pay for. So, but so we'll call through those. Now I'm going to, I think, actually go through the list the way I would at a normal meeting rather than trying to summarize, because I felt a little awkward doing that last year. So I will list each individual salary item rather than trying to lump them all together in case somebody has an objection. And this also would be a majority vote. Article 3, revolving funds. Same thing as last year and prior years. We'll have the motion by Gordon, second by Rob. And I guess the question is, if there are any questions about this, Chris, should they go to you or do you want them to go to you, Bob?
I'm comfortable with Chris handling those things. I mean, it should be pretty straightforward. I don't think there's any change here, is there?
Okay, seems pretty pro forma. Are you okay with that, Chris?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, Article 4, the operating budget. I would appreciate your thoughts about this. Last year, I just read the summaries for each broad category, so that I was only reading a very narrow or limited list. I wonder if I should do that. So for example, if you were to look at the blue book, instead of going through under general government, moderator, reserve fund, selectmen, so on and so forth, I would just read the total that was at the end of general government on page 14. And I could do that again. I mean, page 34, I can't read, page 34. Should I do that or should I go through each of the items? Does anybody have any thoughts or strong feelings about that? Yeah, Bob.
Jim, I think that is the way to do it. Going through each of those line items takes a lot of time, and I think it's the larger number that people would focus on. And I also think that if we do this, as I understand we intend to do it, I think Chris is going to give a very brief overview. And one of the things about this budget is I think we're under 1% growth year over year. So with an appropriate sort of overview of the budget, I think it makes great sense just to read the bolded line items.
Okay. Yeah, and Dave?
I agree with Bob on this. And if you just simply say at the beginning of the article that if you have any objection to any of the line items, when I call the total, please say hold, and then we'll come back to that.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. And Rob, how long do you think your presentation is going to be, approximately?
Me?
Yeah.
Not long. I
Okay.
mean, same, probably shorter than open hearing.
Okay. Now remember, people aren't going to be able to see a screen. So you're going to have to refer to the pages in your handout as you're proceeding through.
Right, right. No, that's fine. Yeah, I plan on being as brief as I am capable of.
Okay,
Which
great.
is not normally brief, but I'll try.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions? Yes, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Kathy LaPlante, your town accountant. Nina, I just wanted to ask a question on this subject where we're going to just be reading the, total general government, total public safety. Is that going to still keep the departments within the salary and expense limits that are listed here? Or is it now just going to be, if we vote that way, general government, for instance, it would be 2.8 million. Do we have to stay within that, or is it still going to be salaries and expenses?
No, it would be, I mean, we're just talking about what Jim is reading over.
Mhm.
The actual article contains all the separate line items. So
Okay.
you're still governed by the line items.
Okay.
Jim is just reading over subcategories.
Okay. I just wanted to double check.
That makes sense?
Thank you.
And I agree with Jim with Dave's point that if anyone has any concerns, you can go back and read over the line items of any particular department.
Yeah. And in fact, what I did last year, and I'll do it again this year, after I've gone through, I'll pause again and ask again if anybody has any questions with respect to any specific items. So people will have 3 bites at the apple, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And Bob?
So the issue of paper, one of the things that we're considering for this special town meeting in June is to encourage people to download to their mobile devices, laptops or iPads or Surface devices or whatever, the information that's going to be handed out so that if they want to reference it, they can. And I'm assuming that all of the information that we have is accessible through the website. And that may help with the paper shuffling, and it may help with that side of it. And I would just encourage everyone who's interested in these items to download to a device and have it in their laptops. I've been assured, and Felicia has made sure that I think we'll have for the, at least for the May 1st meeting, enough bandwidth to handle that kind of stuff. So that might be one way to help.
Okay. Do people have, is there cell coverage at the high school on the football field? I see, John, you're shaking your head no.
No.
I'm
So
not
the
sure,
cell
Jeff,
coverage,
on that.
the cell coverage is horrible. At literally when Harry was the school officer, he as a demonstration, he would turn his mic on and yell into it, 911 help officer. No one would respond. It's horrible. So Bob, your idea I think is great, and to do that prior, it would be very important. We could also do for the special town meeting a QR code, just like you do now in a restaurant, where we could have the symbol located around the stadium, around the football field. All you have to do is put your phone up to it and then download it. So that's very easy to do.
So it's really very important that if people are downloading this information, they do it before the meeting, before they come to the high school. That's vital. Okay.
Right, and I'll also have whatever extra blue books available for people, as we always do.
Okay, great. Yeah, I suspect we're going to need many people will need them. if my family members are any indication. So, all right. Article 5, capital budget. If there are any questions on capital budget, to whom should I direct them for Article 5?
So Barry Goldman will be there and he can definitely answer all of the questions, or Chris.
Okay, so questions to Barry or Chris. Okay, great. Article 6 is to vote on, it's going to be a consent vote on Article 6, 7, 8, and 9. Now I'm looking at it and it says consent agenda to vote to move 3 articles, all of which are recurring, but we're actually referring to 4 articles, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
I'll make sure, Jim, as I'm making all the updates that we discussed this evening, that the.
Okay, so that we'll just amend that so it says 4. Okay, and again, Nina, will be the same process. I'll refer to the titles and the page numbers as I'm calling through. Pause, see if there's any questions or discussion, and if not, we'll proceed. Okay.
Jim, questions go to?
Yeah, who should these questions on these go to? Chris?
Yeah, I can be the point for the 4 of them.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Okay, Article 6, 7, 8, and 9. So then we'll hopefully get through those pretty quickly. And then on to Article 10, Capital Stabilization Fund. I haven't heard any squawking about this. You know, I know we were worried about it ahead of time. Have you fellas heard anything that is causing you to pause on this? No. Okay, fine. So proceed with Article 10. Now, again, if there are questions on this, to you, Chris, or to Bob?
I had Robin for this.
Okay.
Defer to the chair and the board.
Is that okay, Robin? Will you?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I don't know, and we can discuss it. I don't know if we think it's necessary to give a quick explanation.
It's up to you.
So,
I think so, Robin. I would vote yes on that one.
okay, all right.
I think you should just say, because I said so. That usually works.
Don't listen to anybody whose face you can't see.
I know.
Even know if that's.
I was just doing that for your benefit, that's all.
Okay.
And Jim, is this one majority or 2/3?
2/3, I believe.
Right.
2/3. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Okay. Article 11 is going to be dismissed. And who should we call on if there are any questions for Article 11?
Well, are you going to move the one that was way at the beginning to right before 11?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that's okay. That's the plan. So, but if there are any questions about this, who would be the person who?
I can take it, Jim.
Okay. All right, let's see. All right, go 12. Questions on this, Chris or Bob?
To me, it would be either Chris or Robin.
Okay.
Robin, you good with 12?
All right, so questions to Robin. Okay. 13, unpaid bills. This is going to be a 4/5 vote. And who's going to give a brief explanation of this? Usually when this arises in the past, we have somebody explain what's going on since it's a 4/5 vote.
I don't know who that's been in the past. Happy to, volunteer myself again if that's traditionally what's occurred in the.
Yeah, I couldn't remember who did it.
Right, I think it was the town administrator. I mean,
Yeah.
people kind of know that this happened, so I don't expect there to be an issue.
All right. Sarah, you had a question?
I had been asked to rewrite part of that, so I was going to volunteer. I'm not sure what's involved, but if you need help. but I think Chris had already volunteered, so it makes my willingness moot.
I'm happy to share the wealth, so.
Whatever.
Yeah,
So typically, I don't believe the warrant committee actually does that part.
That's good to know. Okay.
yeah.
Thanks, Sarah.
But thanks for volunteering. We would take you up on it.
Well, I just wasn't sure how involved other members are given the deliberative nature of the meeting.
I'm protecting Sarah. No, we're not letting her to go to the wolves yet.
Okay. All right. So go to Chris on that.
Jim?
13 is one of the articles that is being dismissed in the consent vote. Nina, you're muted.
I was just saying, I think the town accountant had a comment on the prior article.
Oh, okay, sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to give just a tiny bit of background on one of the unpaid bills for the elections registration department. Normally the unpaid bills are they didn't come in on time, forgot we ordered something from WB Mason or something happened. In that case, for the election registration, it was submitted on time. It was submitted and it should have been paid in fiscal 21. It was just misplaced by my department. And, by the time it was discovered, it was too late to process it in fiscal 21. So that was taken care of by the town clerk. It just, like I said, it was lost by my department. So sorry about that.
Those things happen. How much is the amount? Is it a relatively small amount?
Yeah, it's only $1,517.41.
Yeah, we've had much larger ones in prior years, so not to worry.
Yeah, well, I just want people to think she didn't submit the bill. I wanted to make sure people knew that that one was taken care of.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. And again, that's these things happen, not at all unusual over the years.
Jim, I just think, Jim, historically, the last time this was done was for a $900 bill to Aqua Barrier, the company that's owned by Tim Weeder, for a roofing item that was done on the townhouse, and people get it. It's literally it's a 20-second explanation that Chris can run through. So it's very simple.
Yeah, and the one before that was to Lovell's Flowers. So
So
all right, very good. Article 15, into the zoning bylaw. I don't see. Is anybody from the planning board here? Chris?
Jim, I can actually make this pretty easy for you and the group. The planning board notified me this morning that this article is actually going to be dismissed. There was a scheduling issue related to the required public hearing. So the planning board was unable to host the hearing. And as they reconvened after that issue, they determined that it was okay for this to wait another year, and they actually thought it might be a positive thing so that they can package it with some other zoning changes that they'd like to propose. So that's the background. It'll be dismissed. I will fold that into the overarching consent agenda with the other two articles that'll be dismissed.
That's great. Good. Thank you, because I was expecting we might have debate. And Nina, can I ask you just a quick question? Did the new statutory change reduce the 2/3 to majority for something like this, or is it still 2/3?
It is not clear.
Okay.
I was actually in a very lively debate on email a lot of today about this. There's a definition in 40A that has been revised that is not clear to anyone what it means and what it will apply to. So there's a lot of debate about that point right now. So when it comes up next year, we will hopefully have more guidance from either the state or the courts.
Well, you're making me feel good, Nina, because when I read it, I couldn't figure out what they were trying to do either. So
if you're not, an MBTA community, which is another issue that I'm working with Courtney on, then it's exceedingly unclear,
Right.
the result here. So that is another reason beyond the public hearing issues that it's beneficial to take more time here.
The other thing that wasn't clear to me, you might just stick it in your file for next year, is whether the planning board has to make a formal report to town meeting the way they do for zoning bylaw changes in general. I think they do, but it wasn't.
Yeah, no, so this is, if this was going forward, this is a zoning bylaw change.
Okay,
And
good.
so yes, that same report would be required.
Okay, good. I'm glad that's clear. Okay.
That hasn't changed.
Thanks. All right. Article 16 is to consider two articles, 16 and 17, in a consent vote. And these are pro forma. I spoke to the Board of Assessors and they've approved bundling them together in order to save time. And so hopefully that will move pretty quickly as well. I guess if there are any questions, I'll be directing them to Bonnie Akins, Chris.
I had Amy down there based on a conversation with her.
Okay, no, that's fine.
But I'll confirm with her, and I'll make sure that definitively who the individual is appears in the next iteration that I send back around to everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. And that's majority?
Yeah, that's majority. Okay, and then on to Article 18. Massachusetts elderly should be a pretty quick thing. If there are any questions, Chris, to you.
I was going to have our COA director, Janet Claypool, for any questions.
All right, great. There won't be, but just in case. Great. Article 19, OPEB fund, Board of Selectmen. Do you fellas want to talk about this briefly up front, Bob, or?
Chris, I just think, isn't this an amendment that we had to make in order to comply with changes at the state level?
Yeah, it's really pretty simple. It just brings our existing OPEB trust into compliance with regulations that were adopted a few years ago. I don't think it would need really any further explanation.
I think it would be worthwhile if somebody could just state that, 2 sentences. It's just bringing us into compliance, because otherwise, when people see retirement and trust fund, there might be some angst involved.
All right, so I'll nominate Chris.
Okay.
Chris, I can help you with that. I mean, the way to package this is just, this is a reauthorization of what the town has already approved, just with, additional verbiage to satisfy changes in laws.
Okay. I think that'd be great, because otherwise there might be some questions and this will short circuit it. Article 20, cemetery fund, our cemetery bylaw changes. I was thinking that it probably would make sense for Mrs. Jackman or somebody to explain, just again, very briefly, what they're doing here in order to curtail any discussion, any questions coming from the floor. Who should we have Mrs. Jackman do that, Chris, or would you like to do it, Chris?
No, I think Carol would be great for that.
Okay. Could you give her a heads up that she'll just have to give a very brief explanation?
I will do that.
Okay. Okay, Article 21, solar installation. Questions to whom?
Chris.
Chris, okay.
Come on, Bob.
Okay, and this is a majority vote? Okay. Article 22, animal bylaws, animal control. Since we're raising the fines here, should we have a very brief discussion up front, or what do you think?
Chris, we had a slide on this, didn't we?
We did at the open hearing.
So maybe maybe that's something we can just briefly go through.
Okay, You, Bob, or Chris?
Oh, Chris.
Okay.
Chris gets the big bucks. I get like $125.
Oh, but it's Chris's day off, you know.
Saturday?
Yeah.
TAs don't get a day off. Members of the BOS don't get a day off. Come on, we know how it works.
Poor guy, he should be mowing his lawn, you know, doing
He's having a spelling.
Well, I'll actually be able to share the wealth on this one, and Chief McGowan will be the.
Oh, even better.
Everyone's scared of him.
Yeah.
No, Chris, I think we should show you prefatory remarks by Chris. All right. This is also a majority vote. Okay, yeah. All right. The wireless, the tower, Article 23. Do we need to have a brief explanation of that, or can we just launch right into the vote?
I defer to the board, but I'd suggest that we could launch right into the vote.
I would
This is
agree.
just a necessary thing for us to move forward on the whole lease, the cell tower
Right.
lease operation.
I mean, if people have questions, we can certainly answer them, but
Okay. Yeah, the reason I'm asking is that, people have questions, we have to wait for them to come up to the microphone, and, it just adds time. So that's why, to anticipate if there might be any questions, if we could preempt it. On this one, I don't know.
I mean, I haven't gotten any questions. Warren Committee, have you guys heard anything about this?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll try to launch right into the vote then. If there are any questions, to whom should they go?
Back to the town administrator.
Okay.
Bob Springett, the chair?
Yeah.
Chris, I think you need somebody to negotiate a raise for yourself.
That'll be done later on.
Can we regroup? Is the chair doing anything at this meeting?
Yeah, the chair's doing what he always does.
To
Get
me.
somebody else to do the work.
Yeah, delegate.
Delegate. That's what, I've spent 35 years learning how to delegate.
Okay, so
Actually,
Article,
no,
this is a lot of fun. I'm just wondering, the Blue Book has the warrant committee descriptions of a lot of these things, and I think that will head off a lot of the questions too.
assuming that people read it, Cam, you're absolutely right,
Okay, fair enough.
But you're absolutely right. And by the way, the warrant committee did a great job in the Blue Book. Many thanks. I thought it really was fantastic. So
That's all due to Peter, I'm afraid.
it was very, very nice, very well written. Stagecoach Lane. This is Mr. Howe's petition, and also I want, if he's not here, but just want to publicly thank him for agreeing to postpone this at last year's meeting. It was a great service on his part to the town to do that. I suspect that we might want him to or somebody should briefly explain what it means for the town to accept, or do you think we can just launch right into a vote on this?
Jim, I think it's a good thing and I'd be happy to do this. It's just easier if we do it, if we simply state that it was postponed last year and acceptance is basically a requirement. I don't think there would be any questions along this line.
But John, I wouldn't describe it as a requirement, though.
Okay.
There are
Thanks.
some conditions that haven't been met yet in order for the town to accept the way from the adjacent homeowners that we're working on getting. But we don't have all the paperwork yet.
Okay. So what do you suggest be left, just what should be left unsaid?
That this is any sort of necessity or requirement for the town.
Okay.
I mean, you can certainly say this is,
Historically,
the
town's
natural anticipated next step in this creation of this subdivision. They've asked us to accept the way. That means the town will maintain the way for snow and ice and other things, and it will be a public way of the town. I think that's all you need to say.
So now, Nina, I thought all of the underlying issues were resolved.
Nope. So they need to deed us some, they need to send us some deeds and some mortgage assents because the adjacent homeowners actually own, Mark House does not own Stagecoach Lane. The subdivision owners each own to the center line. That means if the town is going to accept it, that each of those homeowners needs to deed that parcel separately to us. Mr. House and his lawyer were responsible for getting those deeds in a sense from any mortgages, and they have not delivered those yet.
My understanding from the warrant committee last year was that one of the reasons we were encouraging a deferral last year was just because of those issues that were still outstanding. So my feeling is that maybe we should be deferring this until those issues are resolved.
We are working very hard. We hope that the clock
actually
help at this point.
Thanks, Cam.
Gordon, go ahead.
Oh, that was exactly my understanding of the situation as well, is that, and I thought we understood that all those issues had been resolved.
Yeah.
So I'm not certain that we should even be, sorry, I just realized my phone is pointed up at the sky.
It's probably easier for all of us, Gordon, if you get rid of the picture.
Actually be bringing this before the town. Sorry.
So I understand, Gordon, you were breaking up a little bit. I understand the sentiment was you're not sure whether this is essentially ready for prime time to be brought in front of the town. If the town votes to accept the way, it does have 120 days after the town meeting vote to record all necessary documents to effectuate that acceptance. So as a matter of law, it is not required that we have all the signed deeds and everything in escrow before town meeting. We had set up that as a condition of the town putting the article forward to town meeting, that we would have all of those documents in hand so that we weren't wasting town meeting's time if after the town meeting goes through and votes it, they don't end up being able to get all of the approvals needed. I can tell you that Chris and I and other folks in our real estate department have been working on this for over a year, trying to get these documents. There are 4 remaining that we need to get.
Right. My understanding from last year was that there were 1 or 2 at least folks who actually showed up to voice, I'll call it reservations, but they seemed pretty against us doing anything. The other concern I have is that there's a litigious side to this, and just in terms of looking out for the town and not putting us in a situation where we have a lot of work to do. I would prefer to have everything in hand. I mean, I think what we actually said was that all requirements have been met. So I'm just a little concerned that there are some that's not the case. And I'm concerned about having it.
Gordon, I appreciate that. There are 2 issues that were longstanding with this acceptance. One was a stormwater maintenance and who was going to take over the maintenance of the stormwater system. And I think some of the homeowners of that subdivision had concerns about the developer keeping that, being responsible for that maintenance plan, and we came to an agreement with him that the town would take that over in a certain amount of time. And I think that allayed, my understanding is that allayed the homeowners' concerns with the acceptance of the public way on that stormwater issue. The other issue that we have now that we're working on is just the title documents themselves. And if these homeowners that are affected in this subdivision are not in favor of the town acquiring the way as a public way, they don't need to sign the documents. And the town, I certainly wouldn't recommend the town accept the way unless we have the entire thing free and clear from all property owners. The warrant article does envision eminent domain as well. So if there's a holdout, in theory, we get a town meeting vote, we can have the Board of Selectmen just vote an order of taking to take the public way. We hope not to get there. I mean, I don't know if Chris has been in touch more closely with the developer himself, but what I've told them, by email in the last week is, hey guys, we're down to 10 days to get those documents to me. So I don't think any decision needs to be made on this tonight. I think that if we don't have the documents by town meeting, this certainly could just be a motion to dismiss.
And who would make that decision? That
would be a select, well, is it a citizen's petition?
Technically it's a citizen's petition.
Yeah, they would have to move to dismiss it, or if they don't move to dismiss it, we take a vote and vote it down.
Okay.
It would be with the eminent domain in there, that is a 2/3 vote. So if the selectmen are saying, we no longer recommend this, then that certainly could be influential on that vote. But I think, we've made clear to them from the beginning that the willingness of putting this on the warrant was contingent on receiving all of those documents. So my pitch to them would be, you've got to keep your word and move to dismiss this at this point.
Nina, has the failure on the part of some of the abutters to obtain consent from the banks, is that because they've been dragging have the citizens been dragging their feet, or have
I don't know.
Okay.
Because Chris wisely does not want town council spending a lot of time obtaining all of these documents from these homeowners, right? This is something that is their initiative and something the developer wanted to do. We said, you're responsible for going and getting all of these documents. We reviewed the documents. We made sure they were legally accurate. I think we drafted a lot of them, but we said, you're responsible for getting signatures. We're not running around knocking on doors and getting signatures in a sense and calling banks and stuff. So it's, we check in on a weekly basis. We've been told things are coming, and I don't have an explanation of if there is an actual holdup or a problem, or if this is just administrative, molasses, for lack of a better word.
The reason I asked,
we can't dismiss this, right? As a citizen's petition, we can't do anything about this.
Correct.
Right. The reason
Nina, we can change our recommendation, correct?
Yes. Yep. Certainly.
And so what I'm wrestling with is, should we change our recommendation, given that, we were under the impression that they had met all requirements? Doesn't seem they have. And I'm just, I get what you're saying. We have until town meeting basically, but I don't see that as a lot of time, and I'm concerned.
Gordon, we can have a warrant committee meeting just before the town meeting and change our recommendation.
Which is exactly what we will do, Peter. Thank you, though.
Cam Hudson has his hand up. Cam?
No, I'm just contemplating.
Let me ask another question. The reason I asked about whether people were dragging their feet is if it came down to the town taking the right of way, that could result in significant, I'm guessing it could result in a significant expense for the town if there was a question about valuation on the taking.
Yep.
There might be some protracted litigation there.
Exactly.
And do we really want to walk into that?
Absolutely. Yep.
I know a few of the folks that live there, and I only know through hearsay, so I'm not going to speak to what I've heard, but there's some concerns from some of the homeowners, Jim. from what I understand.
Okay, so this is not just administrative.
I do not, I could be
No,
wrong.
I
could
don't
be
think
wrong,
so.
but I do not believe this is an administrative thing. I think this is some homeowners and the developer are coming to.
So this is not something, again, this is a roadway acceptance. This is not something that the town is desiring an interest in. It is responding to requests from its residents to take over their road as a public way. If they are not wholeheartedly in support of the town doing that, there is no kind of independent interest of the town taking that public way. The only thing I will need to check is if we end up not going forward with the public way, I want to see how that impacts that stormwater maintenance agreement that we entered into. And that's something Chris and I can look at.
If a couple of questions, who will make a final decision on what the town position is going to be? Because as we've discussed, we cannot dismiss it on our own volition. It has to be Mr. Howe. So who will make the decision? 1, 2, who will speak on behalf of the town to recommend that voters voted down if that's the decision that the Board of Selectmen or Town Council recommend? So
well,
first,
it's either board. So both boards make recommendations, the warrant committee and the Board of Selectmen. So they independently can discuss that either at town meeting, or if they post a meeting before town meeting, they can discuss and change their recommendations there. And then they can, again, individually by body, explain why they changed their recommendation. If folks want to defer that to me or have questions for me on that, I'm happy to answer those. What I would say as far as, if in the day or two before town meeting, it's looking like we don't have the originals to record or we're not getting these deeds processed, then, I'll certainly be consulting with Chris, but I would love the authority to tell the article proponents that I recommend they move to dismiss it.
Okay, and as a precaution, should the Board of Selectmen and the warrant committee post a meeting for Friday so that you can act on this if it gets to the point that we have everything we need?
You can, but you don't have to. So they can meet in town meeting to change their recommendations without posting a separate Board of Selectmen meeting.
All right, great.
So if, at the beginning of town meeting is open, the Board of Selectmen want to huddle and discuss their recommendation about any of the articles, they can do that. Normally I would say, let's post a meeting beforehand if there was going to be significant discussion or explanation. I think at this point we've had that discussion, so the board can just say, do they have the documents or not? And if they don't, we'll change our recommendation if that is the direction the board wants to go in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and Bob and Gordon, are you in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Would it make sense, Jim, to let, or Bob, or I'm not sure who to, but would it make sense for whoever has the authority to give that authority to Nina and inform the proponent that both if the documentation's not in hand by town meeting, that the warrant committee and the Board of Selectmen are going to vote against the article, and perhaps then the proponents will just withdraw it or vote or ask for dismissal.
Nina, can you just work off the discussion so far? Do you need something?
Yeah, I don't think I need a specific voter authorization. This is not, legally binding. It's just a conversation between lawyers saying, I think your best move here is going to be to withdraw this article. So I'm perfectly comfortable having that conversation.
Great. Well, thank you.
And again, I'll make sure, obviously, Chris is looped in, who will make sure Bob and Gordon are looped in as well.
Great.
And Jim.
Okay. Any other
comments? I can't hand that one off to anybody, Robin. I'm sort of angry.
I'm sorry, Bob.
Oh, I said I can't hand that off to anybody. I'm gonna have to do that one.
Oh,
I don't
well.
know if I should. I don't know if I should feel good about volunteering for that or not volunteering for that.
You can't do it. Sometimes the big bucks. That Jim was talking about.
Right.
The bucks don't even stop here. They don't even come here.
So John, if we decide to go forward, if the Board of Selectmen and the Warrant Committee decide they'll still favor it, you still want to speak to it?
Yeah, either way, I just agree with what Nina said, and I think we're all on the same page. We all had assumed that that everything was completed, and this was something that was just a matter of a formality that it was done last year, and certainly that's not the case. So I'm on the same page as everyone else, Jim. I just think that either way, it's a very simple unit of conversation to have, and it would take a lot of the of the questioning out of the equation. Either way, it is you make the statement that everything has been received, or as Nina said, it's not been received. So it just either way eliminates a lot of the discussion.
All right, thank you, John. Thank you. And again, Nina, this is a 2/3 vote, correct? For the acceptance, okay. And then lastly, our favorite article on free cash. How do we stand on free cash, Gordon and Chris?
So the Warrant Committee has made their recommendation, and it's consistent with what the Selectmen have voted to approve. Barring any changes or amendments, I think we're pretty comfortable with where it stands this year, for this year.
Okay, good. There be a brief explanation of where the number is coming from. Robin, you're muted.
Sorry. Oh.
Yes, I was answering a work call, so.
Okay, and do you want to make the brief remarks?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, and then lastly, my favorite motion to adjourn. That will be, again, Gordon be making it, and Rob will be seconded. So this is the really important one, guys. Don't fumble on this one, okay?
I think Rob and I have it under control.
Okay, good. Is there anything else, other comments or questions? Have I missed anything? No? Okay, well, again, thank you very much. Warrant Committee, as always, thank you for all your work. Much appreciated. It's a lot of work, and we greatly appreciate all you do. So, many thanks. And we'll see you all a week from Monday. Pray for good weather.
I
so
think it's Saturday.
Saturday.
It's Saturday. Yeah, Saturday.
Right.
Saturday.
Freudian slip. Okay.
Trying to jump in there, but thank you, Jim, and thank all you guys. I think we're in good shape for this year. I hope so. Other than the weather.
Yeah, it's because of all your hard work. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. We'll see you all.
Thanks, all. We'll be in touch.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, so we're going to item number 1.2, approve and execute June 12th, 2021 special town meeting warrant. Chris?
Thanks, Bob. So before the board this evening is the special town meeting warrant for June 12th. To quickly summarize, the warrant consists of the two options that have been communicated to residents: the approval for a new building or the approval for a renovated building. Along with those two questions, there has been two additional warrant articles that have come through. The first is from the Park and Rec Commission, who voted a few weeks back to insert Article number 4 that you see here, which is to dedicate at least 3,500 square feet in whichever option is chosen for park and recreational related activity. And the other article is a citizens petition that got the requisite number of signatures to be put on the warrant. And this article is to dedicate, essentially increase the size of either of the two options to incorporate dedicated space for preschool and preschool activities in the building. And then the last article is the funding article for these. So that's what we have in front of us. Happy to answer any questions or provide any clarification. I also see that Chris and Mark from Park and Rec are here as well with us. So that's the warrant for the special town meeting as it stands this evening.
So Chris, I have a question. The funding article is Article 3?
Correct.
Okay, and then we do Articles 4 and 5. And if either of those are approved or if both of those are approved, it simply adds to the Article 3 authorization. Is that right? There's not a separate, there's no separate authorization for each of those items.
Right, Nina?
It is a separate authorization. So Article 3 will be a 2/3 vote as an authorization for bonding and appropriation. And then Articles 4 and 5 are appropriations as well. So those are separate appropriations. They will then be combined into one override question to go on the ballot as a lump sum. So they will be added together for one, project cost if either 4 or 5 is accepted.
Okay. So unlike Articles 1 and 2, which just talk about a choice between Articles 4 and 5 actually are funding articles as well.
Correct.
Okay.
So what you really need, all you really need for a town meeting approval for a building project is the appropriation. You don't need authorization for the Board of Selectmen to go forward and build something. They just need the money for it from town meeting. But Articles 1 and 2 were separated out by design to make sure, as has long been promised, I think, to town meeting, that they would be involved in determining what avenue to go down with respect to the Carroll Community Center improvements, whether it would be renovation or new construction. So we're having that vote first, basically what path the town is choosing to go down, separate from the appropriation. Those authorization votes, again, not legally required, are just majority votes. And then the appropriation is the 2/3.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So questions or comments, John?
So just one comment, Bob, with regards to the order, right? It seems like the order of the articles should be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
No.
No.
Because
it works this way, right? We've told the town that we're going to give them a chance to opine and vote for the community center options developed by the building committee. And that will require, so it's as Nina had pointed out, each one of those is a 50% vote. The scenarios play out differently, but let's just assume that Article 1 receives 51% of the vote. Article 2 would be dismissed, could move to Article 3, and that would require a 2/3 vote to fund. Once that was done, then we'd move to Article 4 because these are additions, right? This
okay,
is
got it.
outside the scope of
Right.
the building committee.
Okay, so 4 and 5 are essentially contingent upon 1, 2, and 3.
Well, 4 and 5 are contingent on 3 getting 2/3 of the vote.
Got it. Okay, simple.
Okay.
That makes.
They're basically a la carte
Yep.
options or additions on top of the
On top
approved
of
building project.
Okay, got it. That's it.
All right,
Thank you.
Robin,
I don't have any questions.
you sure?
Mhm.
You've been very quiet tonight.
What can I say? It's a well-oiled machine.
All righty, then I move to approve the June 12th, 2021 special town meeting warrant.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor, aye, Bob Springer.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
That's done. Board of Selectmen updates 1.3. John, anything?
No.
I think I'm gonna jump off. I don't think you all need me for anything else.
Oh, you
we
don't
like
have to
Stay and
stay.
enjoy all our company, Nina.
But
Come on.
Nina, we like having you. We just
I'm
you
getting
know,
hungry.
Yeah,
Words
exactly.
of knowledge. Thank you,
And he
Nina.
wonders why I'm quiet.
Thank
All
you.
right, take care. I'll see you in a week.
See you in a week.
Thanks, Nina.
Thanks.
Take care.
Nothing, Bob.
Robin?
Nothing. Didn't we just meet last week?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
So I have a lot. And I have no particular order, just some of its updates. So there's the Ford's signage request. The Ford wants to put a couple of posters. I think everybody's gotten the note. People, and I'm not sure if we need to make a motion tonight to approve that or not. Chris?
Technically, the Board of Selectmen are the custodians of the town property, and, there is a reference to commercial and non-commercial signs that the Board of Selectmen needs to provide written approval for signs to be put up. So I think just to be safe, it'd be good to get an official vote from the board on which direction you'd like to choose related to the building committee's request.
Okay. John, any questions or comments?
I am of the opinion that anything that we can do to enhance public awareness and to give the building project more visibility, I'm in favor of.
So I take that as a yes.
Yes.
Robin?
Yeah, I think it's just one more way to get the information out. So it's a yes too.
Okay, so I move to approve the chair of the building committees, Mr. Ford Spalding's request for signage to promote awareness of the building committee project and photo options.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
All in favor, aye, Bob Springer.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Hi, Robin Hunter.
Okay, number 2, have we actually engaged someone to do the feasibility study about Whiting Road and storage?
I had a conversation with both Ford as the chair of the building committee, as well as John, the lead architect on the project. And we had discussed having, given the relationship, obviously, with the firm, that it made probably the most sense to have them essentially do that analysis for us. So I'm waiting for essentially a rider proposal from them for me to be able to bring back to the board for discussion and potential approval.
All right, so that's hot. Yeah, because there was always a question whether who was going to do that, and then the issue was that our current contract with the architects didn't foresee this sort of eventuality. So a rider makes sense. So that's good. I will. The other thing, as I go through my list here, in 2019, the Board of Selectmen issued an executive summary providing information about the Carroll project at that point in time. The assumption is we would do the same thing for this town meeting. And I've begun to draft an executive summary for everyone, but I'm assuming that you all agree that that's something that we will want to do. Robin?
With respect to what?
Well, we just sort of, in 2019, we sort of just laid out what the project was and what the options were. And it didn't really we didn't express an opinion at that time. But again, it was just another way of communicating out to the public what was going on.
So are you suggesting, I'm just a little bit confused. So are you suggesting we write something?
Yes, we did it in 2019. Apparently we did it in 2016, and we also did it around Springdale.
Well, in Springdale, we were the sponsors of that, so that made a lot of sense. I mean, I don't really have an issue with it. I just feel as though the building committee has done a really good job, you know, getting the information out there.
But we're the sponsors of this.
Oh, so you're thinking something like a blue book type thing?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right.
Well,
I was just confused.
So just in case, so last 2019 was white, 2016 was pink, and 2014 was green. So
Right, well, it was, I remember the green one was because that was for Springdale, right?
right, right.
And the field was green, so we went with that. I'm not sure about the others. I wasn't involved in the color selection for the others.
You could pick out the color. John, do you have any?
In my formative years, I went to Catholic school, and I only have 4 colors, so I'm not weighing in on colors. So
all right, well, you got gypped in the Crayola box, man.
yeah, exactly. It's a poor kid.
Okay. So again, I was going to mention the thing about make sure people try to download information to their electronic devices before town meetings so that they have the things, given the inability to actually project on the screen. So we did that.
Right, but I also think, you know, people need to bring a blue book. It's even more important now to bring it.
Yes.
And it would be great if people read it before the meeting.
That's that's the problem with most of this stuff. People just don't read it.
Right, because you know, a lot of people rely on the presentations, and they're just not going to be the same because you're not going to be putting anything up on the screen. So
yeah, so I had sent a note to Ford about the special town meeting, suggesting that in all of the communications that go out relative to that meeting, those points are made, and people then have hopefully an opportunity to understand the problem and act accordingly. We should make sure we do the same thing for the May 1st meeting. I've come across this issue that the Board of Selectmen have to take up. It's called the Town Administrator Review. And I think that I've got into contact with Mary.
good.
And sort of the general process is it starts really with Chris providing an update on goals and accomplishments, accomplishments versus goals. We get copies of that. We each draft an independent review that goes to Mary. Mary consolidates. Chris probably, I think, past practice, Chris had the chance to look at the summary and make comments. Then we create a public document. Mary creates a public document. We have a meeting to discuss performance at that meeting. I think the timeline is something like we're going to, we try to kick it off and get this thing done between May and our last Board of Selectmen meeting in June. Chris, is that about right? Is that pretty accurate?
It is, yep.
Okay. So John and Robin, sharpen your pencils and sometime in mid-May, you'll have to draft some appraisals, summaries. And then
Perfect.
The last thing that I talked about with Chris was sort of the surprise I had with the free cash number. And what the next steps were in trying to make sure we understand, how we were surprised. It's a pleasant surprise. And like I said a year ago, nobody gets in trouble for having too much cash in the bank. But we get queried on that all the time. And I'd like to make sure that we really understand how this cash the free cash account, our cash reserves continues to grow. And Chris, I don't know if you have any updates on that. I think that's pretty much what our conversation was around this.
That's right. Yep. So I've asked the finance team to essentially break out for the board and for warrant committee and frankly the community what contributed and what's contributed to free cash, so that they have an understanding of essentially what's involved and what contributes to it. So, I think certainly that is, I think a necessary, it's something that we should be doing anyway, frankly. And it's something that I've discussed with the finance team about, and this reemphasizes the importance of making sure that our processes internally are being done on the schedule in which they should, so that, in the usual or normal circumstance, would close out the year earlier in the fall so that the town and the Board of Selectmen is able to look at the prior year, understand how we did, understand where we generated free cash, and then be able to develop your budget and guidance for the upcoming year earlier in the year rather than at this point in time.
Okay. John or Robin, any comments?
No, I think, I'm really sorry.
John, you can go.
You're a little. I'm perfectly fine.
Okay.
Just gonna shut my.
Robin?
Sorry.
So I think it would be really good to look, to understand the composition of what's driving it, so that we can continue to refine our policies of controlling the increase or reducing it, which we've done over the last couple of years. I would expect that some of the increase this year is a result of COVID and the fact that we didn't spend as much, with not that many people in the townhouse, and just a general fiscal conservatism that we undertook during this time, since we weren't sure what the state of finances would be for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts coming out of COVID, or how long it was going to last.
Hey, John, can you put yourself on mute for a second?
No, I did. I was about to say something and it went on mute. So is it okay now?
Hang on. No, put yourself on mute for a second. Just go on the background. I'll come right back to you.
I'm sorry. You guys are talking too much.
So Robin, the sort of the conundrum for me was when we forecasted 10 million, I think certain of those situations were taken into account. And I just think that, we just really need to be definitive about this, because it's been, from certain people's perspectives, this has been an ongoing issue for a number of years. And so being able to really definitively identify all of the components would be a really smart thing to do.
Right. Well, keep in mind that the analysis that was done did not have all the components. Like, it did not have some of the actual revenue components where, there were probably overages that contributed to free cash. I think what was very well honed was the expense side and the turnbacks. But, I'm sure once the analysis is done, we'll be able to see, because there are two places where funds come back. So, rather than speculate, let's wait for the analysis and, see where those increases came.
Absolutely agree. John?
I agree with Robin and Bob. I apologize for that. I just, as I was saying earlier, I put it on mute, but it was in the middle of something. So I agree with what Robin said. There are extenuating circumstances this year that caused the increase. I think we have given a very strong projection as to how our numbers, how we get to our numbers, how the town gets to their numbers. And I think that this year is probably going to be an outlier. And we also have to take into consideration, as Robin said in the study part, what the average new home is valued at. I think that's going to be a big component. that the average of new homes has been going up significantly and adding to the money coming in as we have been conserving money going out. So that's just my part.
But I think it'll be interesting. I mean, to be able to articulate this, because again, we get pillared, would be a good thing. And it is complex. I mean, you know, it's not just money in, money out. I mean, yes, at the highest level, that's what it is, but there are a fair amount of things that enter into it. So look forward to that. So any comments on the May 6th or May 20th projected agendas?
No.
No.
And so for the May 6th, I think the Carroll Management Advisory Committee would give an update on what they work on the operating model for, God, you gotta go on mute.
Damn it.
There you go. They're gonna, on the operating models that they researched and sort of the options going forward, just at a high level. And I think you get the same thing from the Community Center Building Committee update. Maybe we should think about, or maybe 5 minutes each, or 5 and 10 minutes or something like that, so that we can give them some idea of the depth that they should go into, or the summary type activity they should take. Let me go to Chris, you're up.
Thanks, Bob. The first is just wanted to let the board know that Mona's been in touch about setting up a pre-town meeting session for next week, as we had talked about last week. So it'd be great if we could just firm up everyone's availability so we can lock that in for next week. I'm not sure if Mona's heard that.
I am going to respond now.
So I'm good. Wednesday is the best day for me.
I know Mona's probably waiting for me.
All right, so we'll get that scheduled once we find a date that works for the board, or at least a majority of the members. Since we talked a lot about the annual town meeting and communication and presentations, and I just want to reiterate that over the next 2 weeks, we'll continue to drive residents both through the website and social media to the town meeting page, and to reiterate a lot of the points that were discussed this evening about making sure that people download these materials, or check out these materials in advance, since there won't be a standard presentation given at the annual town meeting this year. The other piece is the Norfolk County managers have been meeting with Norfolk County representatives to determine and understand how the latest federal monies for COVID will be dispersed. So those conversations are ongoing. Dover is expected to receive between $700 and $2 million in additional monies, and it'll be important for the board for us to begin to have conversations about how best those monies can be attributed and support the community. What's interesting about these is they're more aligned with the ARA funds back in 2018 or 2008, if you remember, where a lot of the recovery and reinvestment went toward infrastructure. And so there's expanded purposes for these, including technology, water, and other infrastructure. So I think things that that certainly apply to Dover. So conversation's ongoing, and once we get definitive guidance and numbers, I'll make sure that that's all packaged up and gets to the board so we can start to have that dialogue. And the last piece I just wanted to mention, I received the Colonial Water Company's annual report, as they mentioned last week. So I'll send that over to the board. Kate's also working on a dedicated water resource webpage to collate all of our water related resources. given all the work that's been done over the past few years, as well as the anticipated work in the future years. So that there's one resource center for the community. On that page, it'll also include these annual reports, which I know are quite popular reading material in town. So those are just some of the major touch points I have for you this evening.
Okay, so Chris, we have 9 days till May 1st.
Time's flying.
Not 2 weeks.
I consider that 2 weeks.
Not if you're taking Fridays off. The other thing I just wanted to clarify in my mind. So we talked at the moderators meeting about a couple of presentations, right? Some of it on cap stabilization, and then Rob said he was going to do some sort of overview of Article 4, and I had thought you were going to do some sort of summary of Article 4. Is that true or not true? How's that going to work out?
I don't know. I think it's up to, I think it's up to the board and, with the support of the moderator, if there was a preference to have multiple presentations. I haven't gone to a normal town meeting since I've been in town, so I don't know what the past practice is as it relates to kind of the presentation on the operating budget.
We usually just make it up.
So I defer back to the board, but my takeaway in my notes here is that, I have Rob giving the kind of preview Article 4 presentation as it stands.
Well, I think that's fine. I think somebody should make the key points that you made in your presentation to us last time. I mean, what the drivers are, what the budget looks like, the minimum change in the budget year to year, the stabilization of tax rates for 5 years in a row. I mean, that's really good news that reflects a great deal of work, and that's the time to do it. And whether Rob can do it or you should do it, but I'll certainly want to hear John and Robin's views, but that a high level summary view, not down into the weeds, that show the progress that's been made by the town over the past several years, I think is definitely in order. John?
I agree. It's very important. It's something we should do, and I think we could each even take a part of it. So, however you think it should be presented, I think that's critically important to do.
Thanks, John. Robin?
I think it's really hard to do without visuals. I think that's why it's important to have those pre-meetings. I just don't know what's gonna stick in people's minds. And, I think they are good points, but I think having two people stand up there without visuals saying the same thing, I'm just not sure how effective that's gonna be.
No, I don't think it should be two people. I think it should be one.
Well, I mean, Chris it sounds like the warrant, traditionally they have been doing it. So it's just making sure that in Rob's comments that he touches on those things.
Right, and it could be a handout at town meeting.
Yeah, I mean, a handout definitely works. I think the budget summary that Chris prepared is a great thing to have available. But, again, I'm not sure how many people are actually going to come to town meeting, given the tax rate is not changing that much and there's nothing particularly controversial going on. So I don't know. And it's a little bit different of a town meeting.
Okay.
And I haven't looked at, I plan to read the Blue Book this weekend. I haven't really looked at it, so.
It's pretty straight. I mean, it's pretty standard fare.
Can I interject one comment? It's Felicia.
Hi, Felicia.
Hi. If you want to do a handout, I think that's fine, but I would really appreciate knowing by Wednesday next week, because we're going to have to do some work. And the handout with bullet points might do what you're looking to do, Bob, and what I think we're all looking to do in a very concise manner that people can take and look at their seats, as opposed to trying to explain it in words.
Yes.
Right. No, those are excellent points, Felicia. It has to be sound bites.
Yes. Very, very high level summary, hitting the high notes. So Chris, will you work with Rob?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to have a conversation with Rob over the next day or so, and I'll connect with him on kind of something together that isn't a handout form, maybe that, he can also speak to, and, that's probably a best way to take care of it.
Yeah, something like key financial metrics or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And bullet point is really would work. So yeah, okay. I'll leave it in your good hands.
I think it's one bullet. Tax rate increased by 5 cents.
Yeah, projected tax rate is down.
Right.
John, anything? Are you good?
I'm good. All good.
All right, so I will move to the consent agenda, item number C1.
Just an FYI, look how nice Kate's background is with the sun setting. It's beautiful.
Yes, it is. And she's nicely framed.
Right?
Right?
It's a spectacular, it's really nice.
All right, so now the question is it real or is it?
No, it's real because I'm looking out my window and it's similar.
But maybe Kate's an avatar. Maybe she's the one.
She's figured out how to just, right, put a clone there. She's eating dinner.
Yeah, this stuff is getting
the real
very
Kate,
real.
The real Kate's eating dinner.
And she's much happier. All right, come on, stop fooling around. The following item is on the consent agenda. Approved May 8th, 2021 special liquor license. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented. I will need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Sorry, Bob, I lost you. I apologize. I was trying to get it as fast as I could.
Yeah. That's why I never trust a guy who only shows up by name. So the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Aye, Robin Hunter.
Okay, guys, here's the big one. Motion to adjourn.
Seconded, John Jeffries.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye, Bob Springett.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Aye, Robin Hunter.
Done. Thank you all very much. I don't
Thanks,
know what the weather's looking like going forward, but I think it might be a little bit better than it was today. Today was cold.
No, I think it's supposed to be this cold tomorrow.
Oh, and it's windy? It was howling. Well, take advantage of the sun as you see fit. Thank you.
But
all
it's
very
supposed
much.
to be 66 on Saturday, May the 1st.
Oh, that reminds me, John, what are you going to wear? I was thinking about jeans and flip-flops.
Face masks, jeans,
Face
flip-flops. Yeah,
Maybe we should have
gloves.
T-shirts made with our name.
Oh, good
Selectmen.
idea. That's a good idea. So, John, seriously, are you going to wear a suit and tie?
Well, I think we're
Only appropriate.
it's only appropriate. I think that we should, from the standpoint of the formality of what it is and how Jim will be dressed and presented. I think that's important.
Oh, man, okay. Now I'm going to have to put away my cutoffs.
Or it could be like a Zoom event. We could wear a shirt,
Zoom
a tie, a jacket, and have shorts on underneath.
That's right, and slippers. Have slippers.
I think that might be appropriate.
We're holding people up.
Okay.
So thank you all again.